Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to For StarCraft 2 Strategy, your #1 location for step-by-step strategy and tutorial videos. Today we're going to be taking a look at a Zerg strategy. We're going to be basically looking at a Zerg versus Protoss strategy in which our Protoss opponent goes ahead and gets that wall off right outside of their natural, kind of forces us to make a decision of whether or not we want to bust through that wall off or whether or not we want to try to sneak into his base another way. And the route that we end up deciding to take is getting that fast Nydus Network and trying to Nydus Worm inside of his base. Now, in this particular example, the Protoss player, both players are very good, but in this particular video, the Protoss player does an excellent job of stopping the Nydus networks from coming through and stopping our units from warping inside of his base, basically. Now, we can use that to our advantage. If your Protoss opponent does a good job of stopping you from getting a Nydus network into their base, then what you can do is try to divert them by trying to spawn it in various locations inside of their base away from the front, and then while their units are split and divided, basically, you want to push through their front, break through that frontal wall at that point while they don't have units supporting it, and then, again, just use the advantage of the fact that they split up their units and their attention was divided into multiple locations. So what we're going to be taking a look at is we're starting off with that standard opener. We're going to be getting our spawning pool at 14 supply. And just a quick note here, the particular replay of this strategy that we're looking at, our Zerg player here is Damaga, and the Protoss opponent is Huck. So these are both professional StarCraft 2 players. I've been trying to do quite a bit of strategy replays from professional players lately, just trying to get you guys to see some top-end strategies and how they're implemented, and then of course try to explain them to you so that you can understand and try to do them yourselves. So we're going to be going ahead and getting that spawning pool at 14 supply, following that up with that extractor. Once that extractor comes up, we're of course going to go ahead and saturate that, giving us the Vespian necessary to make a decision as to what we want to do after we get our scouting information. So as you can see, our Overlord's moving up, and we are finally seeing that he is going for that frontal choke. Does an excellent job of setting this pylon back so that he doesn't have, he's not as likely to lose it if we do push forward. If he had put the pylon in one of these corners, he's likely to lose it due to our Zerglings attacking it and forcing his units away from the choke. In fact, I did a video not too long ago about how to actually go ahead and do that as Zerg. If your Protoss opponent goes for that frontal wall that includes a pylon, you can actually take out that pylon, force him out of his choke, and then run right through while he has that choke open for you. So going back here to our base, we are researching that speed upgrade. We do decide to start the game out with Speedlings. I'm trying to put some pressure and harass as much as possible. And now when we move up, unfortunately, he's going to have that choke complete. We're going to be seeing a Cybernetics core dropped right here, leaving a small amount of space for just a Zealot or two to fit in and not allowing us Zerglings to get through. At the moment, though, we are just scouting around, looking to see if he's got anything going on, see if he has a proxy Stargate or anything around, trying to go for that fast Void Ray, which can be very effective versus Zerg if done properly. So we are going to be moving up with our Zergling here. I'm going to try to get some scouting information in the front of his base. We do, of course, have this Overlord seeing exactly what's going on. We see an upgrade. Of course, it's going to be one of three things. It's either going to be the grounds level, the armor level, or the shields level. Most often versus Zerg, what you're going to see is that they do go for that weapons. It allows them to chop down the Zerglings that much faster, the Zealots. It appears to be the most beneficial upgrade for Protoss players early on versus Zerg if they're going for that ground force. So as you can see, we did see that wall off. We know it's going to be hard to bust through it. In fact, we do see this photon cannon coming in as well. And again, this is where we have that choice, whether or not we want to dump resources into trying to get Banelings to break through, which again can be a huge loss of resources because Banelings, of course, sacrifice themselves. They're the sacrificial unit of StarCraft 2. And once they're done, they're done. They don't continuously do damage. It's a one-trick pony, rather. So our decision here is to try to go for that really fast Nydus network, and we've teched up to our Lair. It's just about finished now, and once that's up, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start building our Nydus network. Now we do have that Roach Warren up. Of course, we're getting Roaches. Roaches are very strong versus Proton Ground Force. Protoss Ground Force. I don't know why. This is like the second time today I've called Protoss Proton. Proton, I don't even know where I'm getting that word. I mean, maybe I was thinking about neutrons and electrons, and proton just happened to come up. And of course, I'm getting a message here right in the middle of the cast, but I've been told that I should try to improvise and break through this instead of putting everything into outtakes. So I'm just going to respond and say, let's see. Alright, so anyways, getting back into the importance here, We do have that Roach Warren up. We are researching that glial reconstitution, trying to increase the speed there of our roaches, which is going to help create better concaves. It's going to help us surround the units better and make them more effective. It's been said before, if you ever try to watch any of the replays or any of the strategy or tutorial videos from any players, myself or otherwise, if you see Day 9 or any of those really great commentators out there, you will always learn that getting that concave, the player who can get the fastest concave is usually the one who wins the battle. So the faster your units are, the faster you can get that concave, and the more likely you are to succeed. So here we are, we're pumping out roaches, we're coming out with that Nydus Network, and this is where we're going to try to set things up here and try to bust through and avoiding that frontal wall. As you can see, he's got a fair amount of forces in his base. He's got some stalkers, got some zealots, a sentry, so a zealot at the front base choking off that wall, and of course he does have this nexus here for that early expansion, the whole purpose of choking off that wall. So this is where we're trying to bust through. We started creating that Nydus Network right there. He did manage ending up to kill it, but again, we have other overlords scouting the edge of his base, and I'll take a look at our vision here. So as you can see, we've got 3 possible locations to go ahead and drop the Nydus Network, and this is, we're trying to divide him. We're trying to get him to go to one spot and then spawn it in another. Now unfortunately, again, the Protoss player in this video, Huck, he does a very good job of stopping this from happening. And we're going to try to put one over here, we're going to try to drop it over here again, but unfortunately he does an excellent job of stopping that. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the fact that he's watching all these corners of his base, trying to find out where the next one's going to be coming. Again, we're dropping one right here, and he's dividing his forces. He's moving them away from where he needs them, which is the front of the base. And what we're going to do then is we're going to send all of our roaches and our speedlings to the front of his base and use the fact that his units are no longer waiting at the front to bust through this wall. This is our small little window here. We're going to be taking up this pylon to stop these cannons, and then we're just going to be able to engage his units, getting us surrounding the stalkers with the Zerglings. Those zealots were all the way in the base, again, because he had to divide his army to try to stop those Nydus Networks from coming in. And this is how we're going to take advantage of it, by hitting him at the front once his units are all spread apart. So these roaches, of course, as you saw, do so much damage versus those gateway units, the stalkers and the zealots alike, and they're just going to start ripping through the base right here, and that's pretty much it. At this point, we've already busted through his front wall. He's lost power to all of these buildings here. He's got that 1 warp gate available and these 2 in the base, but still not what he needs at the moment. And we were able to do a lot of damage by taking out his army just from that little surprise attack and dividing his forces. And that's something you always want to try to do in StarCraft in general, especially as Zerg. A lot of the times Zerg doesn't do really well in upfront battles, just because Zerglings and such can be so weak. Their advantage, of course, is their speed. And roaches are very strong, but again, the Protoss ground forces en masse can do a really good job against them. So the goal is to try to split up your opponent's army, try to get them to be in various locations at once, and in this particular strategy we did that by having the threat of spawning that Nydus Network in various locations of his base. He split up his forces and we busted through that front wall. So taking a look at the build order here, what we did was we started off with that 14 spawning pool, followed that up with an extractor, saturated that extractor, and got that speed upgrade. After seeing that front wall off, that's kind of when we decided to go ahead and go for that Nydus Network. We did have our Roach Warren working as well, simply because roaches are strong early game versus gateway units. So we started teching up to that layer once we saw that front wall off. We got that Nydus Network, and then we brought about the threat of dropping that Nydus Worm in various locations of his base by having these overlords scouted throughout. And with that threat, he divided his forces, and we were finally able to bust through that front wall because of that. So again, guys, this has been for StarCraft 2 Strategy, your #1 location for step-by-step strategy and tutorial videos. If you do like our videos and like what we're doing here, please subscribe to our channel. Keep watching and keep owning, guys.